Erwin De Deyn, President of SETCA-BBTK, joins us now from Cape Town to review the new World of Work report. Erwin, good to have you today with us. Maybe if we can take a look at the report and an overview picture with regard to the labor environment across the globe. What exactly does it look like?
Well, firstly, the report made by the New Economics Foundation tells us that we will need an increase in number of jobs of about 1.8 billion by 2050. This means that we will have to invest in job creation, we will have to invest in education, in training and in skills. The unemployment rate is very high. 200 million globally are unemployed. And this is set to rise to 215 million by 2018. At the other side, we can also see that the wages are very low. You have the economic financial crisis. There are 27% of the employees that are paid less than $2 a day. So workers, employees need a pay rise. Pay rise is good, wage rise is good for the economy, for the creation of jobs, and for fighting the unemployment.
Erwin, how do we create more jobs from a global perspective when we are battling with sluggish growth?
Well, like I said, wages are important for the economy. Purchasing power of the population is important. More jobs are important. And of course, we have to deal with some challenges we are facing with. The demographic challenge, which means that in developed, advanced economies, we have more and more elder people working. In the emerging economies, we have more and more youngsters coming on the labor market. We have also the climate challenge, which means that we need a huge amount of investment publicly and privately, and this can create jobs as well. And then we have the technological change that makes that there's a lot of switch between one job and another. And this means that we have to take care of training, we have to take care of the polarization that is made between the high-level, high-qualified jobs and the low-qualified, low-level, low-paid jobs. So this is a challenge for both trade unions and for the employers, because inequality can lead to instability, and we have a joint responsibility, employers and trade unions.
When you mentioned technology, now on the African continent that has been viewed more as a threat than an opportunity, but how do we embrace technology as Africans to help boost the work environment on the continent overall?
Well, technology will have a major impact. Will have a major impact on the number of jobs and on the kind of jobs there will be in the future. So we see a switch in the economies where you have what we call in Europe the so-called frontline jobs. These are the jobs that are in contact with the customers, with the clients. You have the middle class jobs, the back office jobs in industry, in services, the production of services and goods. And then you have the what we call the laboratory jobs, the so-called STEM jobs, science, technology, engineering, maths. And you have this polarization. The middle class jobs are being rationalized because they can easily be replaced by robots or by other new technology. So this inequality is very essential in the way we deal with the future of work. You don't have only the inequality in terms of the 99% to 1% or the big fortunes and the others. You have also an inequality between the workers, and this is a major threat for us, a major challenge where we have to cope with, and we have to do it in bargaining with the employers, in better wages for everybody and in more jobs for everybody.
Maybe let's come to the all-important question, which is on our screen at the moment. Where will the new jobs on the continent come from? Which particular sectors are booming?
Well, you have the difference, of course, in classical way between the industry and the services. You have the public service, you have the private service industry. It's clear that more and more jobs will be created in the services sector. And that's also what we see, not only in Europe, all over the world. But we have to bear in mind that with the new technologies, productivity is increasing, and it will be necessary to, therefore, to discuss about working time, about the work organization patterns in terms of quality and in terms of quantity. So the question of working time is on the table, and the employer should understand that together with the question of wages, and that workers need higher wages, that also the bargaining of decent working time, decent work organization patterns is necessary in the future to create a stable environment for both the employers and the workers and for the economy overall.
So you've zoned into trade unions. Just to continue with this trend, are trade unions becoming more involved in seeking opportunities for growth when it comes to managing their workforce?
Well, I think we have to avoid in using too cliché images, and that trade unions are at one side, employers are at another side. I think if we have to see the impact of what's going on demographically, climate change, technology, that we have to sit around the table, employers and trade unions, and we have to sit around the table from the very beginning. Choices of investment are made by management. In most of the cases, the trade unions are only discussing this afterwards, and we run behind the facts. I think the trade unions need to be consulted from the beginning, before decisions are made, so that we can talk in a transparent way about the impact of investments on jobs, the number of jobs, and on the content of the jobs. This will be more and more important in the future when we talk about the future world of work.
Erwin, just to close off with, how do Africans as a whole, the private sector together with the government and the labour force, take advantage of the growing labour force environment that's expected to grow on the continent? And how do we ensure that whatever benefits are made to corporates as well as government organisations trickle down to the ordinary workers?
Well, it's a question of dialogue. It's a question of dialogue. We need to establish dialogue. Governments, employers and trade unions. Some of the things have to be dealt with between employers and the trade unions. Others need to be dealt with between the trade unions and the government. And some other issues will have to be treated in a tripartite environment, governments with employers and with the trade unions. If you want to fight the inequality, if you want to fight poverty, if we want to fight unemployment, we all have interest in having clear, transparent dialogue to find solutions that are good for the workers and that are good for the companies and are good for the economy overall.
Thank you so much to Erwin De Deyn, giving us a very optimistic view as to how to take advantage of the growing labour force on the African continent.